What is up, people? It's Dave, it's Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another tech review. For this review, we are checking out the Marshall Major 4 on-ear Bluetooth headphones. So, this review, we're talking about the Marshall Major 4s, these bad boys right here. And these are the newest iconic headphones from Marshall. Some technical information. These will give you, wait for this, 80 hours plus of solid wireless playtime. Also, wireless charging. These have dynamic 40mm drivers, a new improved ergonomic design with softer cushions, a
softer cushions,
multi-directional control knob to skip and adjust volume, plus phone functionality and a collapsible design. As well as playing wirelessly using Bluetooth 5.0, you can also plug these in with the supplied 3.5mm jack cable. The mentioned compact design comes with a new folding clip, which means the Major 4s fold away into an even smaller size, and the ear caps are protected from wear and tear. The headphones will fully charge in 3 hours, but 15 minutes of charge will give you 15 hours of playtime. The headphones do not have voice commands or have noise cancellation, but they do feature wireless charging and have a Bluetooth range of about 30 meters. Price-wise, these are coming in at the moment around 75 of your British pounds. So, Duncan and I have spent a little bit of time with the Marshall Major 4s to get a bit of a feel for them. And before we get into the sound of the Marshall Major 4s, let's talk a little bit about the box. What do you get with these bad boys? So, standard kind of Marshall looking box. If you've seen our review on the Minor 3s, kind of similar ideas, although slightly bigger. And it comes with the usual user guides, manual, warranty guide, 3.5mm cable, which is this bad boy here, and also a USB-C charging cable. No case with the headphones, fairly basic in terms of what you get. Also, take a mental picture of how they are placed in food.
Did you have difficulty getting them back in as well? Yeah.
Christ, it was like a fucking puzzle trying to get these back together. But I managed. They're back in. Never coming out again. So, yeah, that's your items in the box. In terms of the headphones themselves, I'm going to take them out of the box, obviously.
Oh, he's never going to get them in.
They're not coming back out. So, yeah, these are much smaller than I was expecting. When I opened the box, I was like, what the hell? These are tiny. I mean, look how small that folds up. I mean, it maybe looks bigger on camera, but these are like folded up into nothing. So, like for storage, great. They take up literally zero space. Not zero space, obviously, but very small space. Although there is, as I said, no case with them, so you maybe need to purchase something on the side just to put them in. Also, I was kind of surprised. I was like, look at the size of these, and these last for over 80 hours. Like, the battery must be tiny in these things, but the fact you're getting over 80 hours is quite impressive. So yeah, so aren't overly bulky, which I quite like. And again, they don't feel like too cheap to hold certain parts of it anyway. They have a fairly kind of solid kind of feel to them. They've got that, again, the kind of rock aesthetic, textured faux leather, which is nice enough. I quite like that. It's quite retro. But again, similar to the Minor 3s, there are little bits of these that are a little bit kind of plasticky as well. The headband feels okay, but I'm not a fan of the kind of wire loop that attaches earphones to the headband. It looks a little bit cheap, I think, personally. The joystick that I was talking about sits right on the corner And that's your little control basically for switching the power on, pairing up with Bluetooth. You can use it to adjust the volume, skip tracks, answer calls, reject calls, that type of thing. So yeah, that sits right on the edge of your earphone there on the side. So that's what you're getting. That's your earphones. Let's talk about the weight and the comfort of these bad boys. So weight wise, coming in at 165 grams. So these are 85 grams lighter than the Sony XM5s that we reviewed a couple of months back. So like, again, very light, like the Minor 3s. There's no weight to these at all. Really light headphones. So yeah, no issues with the weight on these. However, let's talk about comfort, Duncan.
Comfort. When it counts, Dave, when it counts. They can have the best sound in the world, but if they feel like a vice grip on your head, then that's no good to me.
Comfort is where I had my first issue with these headphones. I wore these for, I don't know, sorry, I tried to wear these for a few hours, but my God, these are fucking uncomfortable headphones. Jesus Christ. Firstly, the tightness of this on my head, I felt like my head was going to pop at one point. They're so tight.
You ever seen the movie Casino?
Yes, I have.
So that was me. Felt like Joe Pesci was turning one more time for good measure.
Wow, like, I don't know. I mean, I might have a slightly bigger head than some, I don't know, but these were uncomfortably tight on my head. Even like I sat and I kind of stretched them out for a bit, hoping that they would maybe kind of loosen off, but they said like this is a new ergonomic design. It's supposed to have like more cushion. I was not feeling that cushion at all, Duncan, not at all. After about 30 minutes, I had to take these off. I was kind of done. I was like constantly moving them to kind of alleviate pressure from my ears. My ears were just roasting hot. And it was so tight on my ears, there was just pain in my ears. When I took them off and I touched my ears, it was actually hurting. I could actually feel my pulse in my head. Like, that's how tight these were on my head. And it wasn't so much the headband. The headband wasn't an issue. I didn't get any like pressure on the top. It was all in the ears on the side of my head. And I also found like you change the kind of length of where the ear cups sit by dragging this up and down. This is not easy either. This should glide a lot smoother than it does. I feel like you really have
the world's strongest man, really.
Yeah, you really have to put a bit of effort into to move these up. So when you've got them on, it's quite difficult to kind of to arrange the size and fit your size. You're kind of pulling and pushing at them. So I found the adjustments of them not particularly easy. So in terms of comfort for me, not good. Not a fan of these when it came to wearing these for prolonged periods. Am I in that boat alone, or did you have the same issue?
My head's bigger than your head, so yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've got a wider head
Right.
than Dave's. There we go. My mum will no doubt tell anyone that listens to her. So yeah, like almost instantly discomfort.
I don't know if it's because they're on ear as well. They're not like over ear.
Well, this is the other issue that hits me straight away. So I've got ear stretching, so my earlobes come down quite a bit further than the normal person's.
Yeah.
And I felt as soon as they went on my ear, I had this weird skin flap that was just kind of like a kind of ear clit just hanging out the bottom, just like not nice at all. It looked fucking hideous. Like it made me look really, 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 really bad. And because it clamps down so much, the bottom of my ear started turning purple because of the blood that was caught in the capture. So it didn't look good. It didn't feel good. My ears went incredibly sweaty very fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, like from a comfort level, thinner heads, smaller ears.
Yep, if you can, yeah.
You're in the pocket. So.
You're good. If you're a 9-month-old baby, then perfect. Okay, so yeah, that's the comfort side of things. Let's get on to the sound. And for this review, we also checked out a classic metal album, obviously. We decided to pick something we've listened to a ton of times, and we could compare how these sound through the major fours. For this review, we chose the album from Brooklyn mathcore band Candiria. It's their album What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger.
What doesn't kill you make you stronger. That song, yeah. No.
You suffocate! Whoa! You're dying, so await your fall!
A band that Duncan and I have been listening to for probably over 20 years.
Woefully underrated band.
Yeah.
Another one that is so far ahead of the time.
Yeah. I think my introduction to the band was their 2001 album, 300% Density. And I was completely hooked on the band. If you've never heard them before, they've been out since kind of early 90s, as I said, from Brooklyn. Kind of pulling elements of mathcore, jazz, progressive metal, a little bit of kind of hip hop in there as well. And as much as I love 300% Density as a killer album, their sixth album, What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger, actually has a superior production to 300% Density. So it felt like a better option for this review. So let's talk about the sound of these headphones while listening to this album. So obviously, as I said, the headphones come with two options. You've got the wired option. It comes with that 3.5mm jack cable, or you can do Bluetooth. So first, I always check it out wired first. However, I don't think I've ever heard a pair of Bluetooth headphones that sound good when using the wired cable. Like, I don't know what it is. I appreciate they're selling these mainly as wireless headphones. I get that. But you think they'd at least try and make them sound half decent when you're not using Bluetooth.
It's a Call of Duty thing, isn't it? We release a Call of Duty game every single couple of years.
Yeah.
And we will put all the time and all the effort onto the multiplayer online and zero into campaign. Like, the campaign is like 5 hours and then done. 5 hours of the most banal play ever, because they know their audience wants to just do the online shit.
Yeah.
That's basically what wireless headphones are. They're like that. We know that like 80% of the people that buy these are going to be walking around with them not connected. So why are we pandering to the 20%? So I kind of get it, but at the same time, just go all in on that.
Yeah, why even bother?
Just remove the port, saves you some space in there. You get an extra 10, 20 hours with a bigger battery, because these need that, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pointless.
Yeah, wired.
Why are you doing here? Like,
I know.
Eyes are going to start
torture.
coming in a second.
Wired, these were horrible, I have to admit. Weirdly, like, for having them in wired, they were weirdly kind of overpronounced in the bass and the treble area, which is normally not my experience when using wired headphones. It's often a bit more kind of, I'd say balanced, more kind of bland sounding kind of overall when it's wired. There's usually nothing exciting about it at all. Everything was audible, like I could hear all the instruments and stuff, and it didn't sound like super harsh. There was a smoothness to it, which is a positive. But the bass was very dominating in the mix, a bit too much if I'm honest, and I felt like it was kind of drowning out a lot of the other frequencies. And with an album like this from Candiria, which is quite a busy kind of style, the kind of the boominess of the headphones just kind of overpowered all that kind of technicality that you're usually getting. So wired, wasn't a fan, didn't like it at all. And after that, I was a bit like, ooh, this could be terrible. When I switched over to the Bluetooth option, however, the sound did improve. Not quite as boomy as they are when they're wired, although still quite bass heavy, I felt. And the highs were kind of toned down a little bit from before as well. For me personally, I feel like the mids could be a bit more pronounced, if I'm honest. But overall, a better sound than I had when I was using them wired. One of my main disappointments, though, and this is probably me as well, I was really disappointed that the Marshall 4s aren't supported by the Marshall app. which just kind of blows my mind. Like, surely all your Bluetooth headphones should work with your app, so you can tweak it for your preferences. You know, you can go in and edit, change the EQ to something more suitable for what you're listening to, or, you know, adjust a little bit. These aren't compatible with the app at all. And I felt like a little bit of tweaking in the EQ would have improved these even more. But the fact that you can't do that with the Marshall app feels like they've kind of dropped the ball, to be honest. Obviously, you could EQ within certain streaming apps as well, but then I need to create like a custom EQ for these headphones, which is just like, that's something I'm not going to do. But in terms of the album, What Doesn't Kill You, it sounded pretty good. Everything was audible. The balance of instrumentation was quite nice. And with Marshall, we've said this on the previous review, being a company that you would normally associate with rock and metal and punk, I think the overall tone of these works quite well with those styles. I feel like it just needed some kind of fine tuning in the EQ a little bit. The bass playing in Candiria is very jazzy. It likes to do a lot of walking around. And it was there, like the bottom end was there, just maybe not quite as detailed as I would have liked or have heard it in the past. But I felt like guitar-wise, for a metal album, the guitars were heavy enough, albeit, again, could used a little bit more bite. Drums had a good punch, and the vocals I felt like the clarity was there in the vocalist. I think most people could pick up a pair of these and think, yeah, they sound good enough for kind of day-to-day kind of general listening. It's not anything high-end, but I feel like it's slightly better than average. Unfortunately, I could only hear or use these for about one album at a time because I had to keep taking them off.
Which is the irony when your headphones are charged for 8 hours.
Yeah, no way anyone was listening to these for 8 hours.
ET individual listens to
these headphones also don't auto pause when you take them off, like the Sonys or even the Minor 3s, which we reviewed. So that's quite annoying because I felt like it's another inconsistency with Marshall. Like, okay, so these don't work with the app, but the other ones do, and these don't auto pause when you take them off like the other ones do. So I just felt like, why don't they have all the basic features? Like, why doesn't each? It's just a bit kind of bizarre, to be honest. Other albums I checked out. I went heavy. I went to Minus the Herd by Ion Dissonance, which I love. It's one of my favorite albums.
Right in there.
Again, yeah, like quite a technical album, heavy, plenty of bass, quite a riff heavy album, and I felt like, again, it had the kind of the bottom end was there, and it sounded heavy, but again, I wanted a wee bit more detail in it. There wasn't enough kind of clarity in the guitars. I felt like I wanted a bit more. Tell you what sounded not bad though, Acacia Strain's Wormwood sounded pretty hefty. Again, all that kind of bass works really well. I think if you're listening to an album that doesn't have a huge amount of technicality, then the kind of richness of the Marshall 4s works okay. Same with something kind of more straight down the line. I listened to Neon Ballroom by Silverchair, and again, I felt like because the album is a more basic setup of instrumentation and style. Okay, it's got some additional like strings and piano, but I thought these were quite well suited to that album. It came across quite nicely. Acoustic stuff as well worked not too bad. I had to listen to Perfect Light by 40 Watt Sun. It sounded pretty good. Again, because they give a nice warmth to them, that album sounded pretty good. Unfortunately, like after that, I couldn't do any more because I was just like having to take breaks in between albums because my ears were just hurting. They're actually starting to hurt just now. I'm going to take these off. So I could only get to a certain point where I was like, right, okay, I've listened to enough. I didn't want to even listen to any more albums because my ears had enough torture. What about yourself? What did you think sound-wise with these ones?
So, yeah, it's weird because depending on what order you release these videos, we've either talked already about the pod versions of these that Marshall have released, the Minor 3s, or that's still to drop. And it kind of is the reverse. So a lot of the complaints I had about the pods sound and the lack of definition in the bass frequencies are like amplified in this at the detriment to the rest. It's kind of like if you combine the two together, you would have like a full sound. Which is a bit of a frustration. So yeah, like instantly straight away, what I did was I went straight to the album we chose as our feature album for the other headphones. So I put on System of a Down's debut album straight away. Like before I even went to Candiria and listened to it, I was like, all right, there's all that bass stuff there, but the guitar sounds less, like especially when you start playing like the lead work, it kind of lacks something, but whenever I hit the crunchy stuff, it sounded great. So I was like, we'll see how we get on with Candiria, because Candiria is very playful. And yes, it does have this kind of full bassier kind of tone about it, but I did start to notice that some of the character and personality of that album is kind of almost washed out. But it became evident very quickly that I was going to have to experiment. Now the beauty of the Candiria choice is when we do these, we both kind of sit in a car and go, that what albums should we do for each, and then we basically shoot albums that we love at each other that we probably haven't listened to in a while. I can't remember the last time I listened to that Candiria album. By the time I got to the end, I was like, that's a fucking great album. Like, why do I not listen to this more? And once again, we mentioned it, it's so far ahead. 2004. Like so far ahead of its time. It's kind of funny. I went all over the shop. So I went to the heavy end of the spectrum, not as heavy as you, Dave. Ion Dissonance, fuck's sake. But I went for bands that were more technical. I went for bands that weren't. I went for stuff that was within the metal genre and stuff that was without. So let me give you a rundown with general thoughts. So I went with Final Gasp, Morning Moon. It's an album I love this year. It has a very retro sort of 80s sound to it. They sounded great through these headphones. So in terms of the overall sound, very much like the previous ones we talked about, older sounding music, like or stuff that is made to sound older, surprisingly work. So it as an album is relatively higher on the guitars anyway. But I felt like it kind of brought it down a little bit in a nice way. So I thought that sounded really good. I checked out Tropalium's HNP, which is just a detailed laden, very, very, very heavy, shake your ass groove tech death metal album. It was so bass heavy. It was like putting your head inside the wedge monitor in an uncomfortable way. It sounded fucking huge, but once again, that's an album that I know a lot, so I just kind of felt like it was missing something. Checked another kind of modern one, checked out Zulu's A New Tomorrow. That has tons going on, so I thought we're going to find a good zone here, and certain tracks and the instrumental parts in between sounded really clear. Other parts sounded a bit muddy. So it was a kind of frustrating, oh right, we found this. No, we haven't. Demon Hunter, the Triptych, which I love that album. Once again, that's an album that is heavy but has these huge melodic moments and ballads. And somewhere in between all that sounded really good. As an overall sound, it was probably the best, most consistent sounding album. Childish Gambino, Awaken My Love, which uses a lot of kind of modern hip-hop with a lot of 70s influence sounds. It sounded really good through this as well. It's because it's a hip-hop album, it kind of leans towards the bass anyway. But I found that it sounded warm and rich and inviting to listen to. Last one I checked out, I do this with every headphone set that you send me, because it's one of my favourite albums ever written. I don't talk about it as much because it's mine. Also sold millions, and it came out 10 years before I was born. Carole King's Tapestry is like one of my all-time favourite albums, right? I'm not just saying that because we're here and no one's watching this video. It's like a go-to for me. It's like there's not a bad song on that album. The piano work is fucking great, and her voice is amazing. And I was curious. This sounds good through them. I think it aids the piano sound, gives the piano a full sound. the bass work sounds great. There isn't a lot of guitar work in terms of lead guitar work or anything that would kind of take you away from the piano. And even the brass instrumentation, like saxophone and stuff, sounded pretty good through this as well. Best album overall through it, I would say, is probably the Demon Hunter album. It sounded the kind of best out of the lot. But yeah, it's a frustrating experience because once again, these headphones are by a company that makes amplifiers for bands that are heavy, like Pantera. I did listen to Pantera as well. I listened to Cowboys from Hell and it sound great. But you know what I mean? Like bands like that. So if you're trading off that name, there's going to be people that are going to first day buy because they've got a Marshall amp. I don't know if this delivers that. Yeah. It's weird because it's so different sounding than the other set that we listened to. Yeah. And it boasts some qualities that I think just in general make them very, very inviting. The price point at £75 is not expensive for over-ear headphones at all. And the fact it holds 80 hours worth of charge is ridiculous. That to me is like a huge selling point. I just feel that someone has spent a bit too much time drawing these headphones up and not wearing them while they were drawing them. Because if they were wearing them while they were drawing them, they'd be like, I need to draw these comfier. Yeah. Like yourself, I could get through an album and then I kind of had to take them off. And most of the albums I chose were less than 40 minutes. So, so yeah, a frustrating experience if I'm honest.
So a couple of additionals. Tried a couple of phone calls. Audio quality was okay. I didn't feel it was quite as clear as the Sony XM5s that we reviewed. And again, not much in the way of kind of background noise reduction. But again, that might be due with the fact that they're on ear and not over ear, so there's no real kind of seal around your ear when you're wearing them. Bluetooth wise, great. Like they connected quickly. Pairing was easy. Again, shame about the app not being compatible, but that's what it is. Connectivity was great though, and they never disconnected or broke up when I was moving around or going into different rooms and stuff. So I found like the 30 meter distance that you get is great, and I didn't have any issues there. Yeah, the battery over 8 hours is quite outrageous, to be honest. Like,
I don't know if I'm aware of any other headphones that boast that.
No, I don't think I've seen anything either, actually. Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, over 8 hours is crazy. Although I don't think anyone is wearing these for 8 hours,
unless you're trying to get, I don't know, the location to their secret rebel base. Then maybe. Or they've stolen money from your casino. Watch the movie Casino, trust me.
Or you're getting ready to go into Guantanamo for some torture and you're just getting yourself ready by wearing these. I don't know. Ratings for the major fours, what we're thinking. So on the positives, I like the design. I like the kind of Marshall look, although some bits of it were a little bit plasticky. I like the fact they're so compact. They're absolutely tiny when they're folded up. Great pairing with the Bluetooth 5.0, no connection issues for me. Sound is okay. I think the balance is still slightly out of whack for me personally. Too much in the bottom end. It sounds smooth, but there's a bit of a lack of punch in the kind of mids and the highs in those frequencies, and there's no app to kind of adjust that really. Fantastic battery length. That is definitely a huge selling point, and very quick to charge. The fact you get 15 hours on 15 minutes is pretty cool for a last minute charge if you're going somewhere. My main issue with this though is the comfort. These were by far the most uncomfortable headphones I have ever used. My ears were just like, even now I've only had them on for like 10 minutes and my ears are throbbing like since I've taken them off. And like that's just, I mean, that's less than an album when my ears are hurting. So again, some people might get away with it if you've got smaller heads, but for me, for someone who listens to music for hours at a time, this would be a horrible option for me to buy a set of these headphones. Price wise, again, very attractive at under £100, considering most other kind of named brands are charging way more for Bluetooth headphones. And I think the price has dropped quite a bit since they came out. So like 80 quid, that's pretty decent. Would I buy a pair? I would not. Scoring wise, difficult one to score. I'm going to go I'm going to go right down the middle. I'm going to go 2.5 on these. What are you thinking scoring wise?
You're being more kind and generous than I am.
Oh.
I think I obviously can't speak for other people, and if you have a smaller head than me, then that's fine. I couldn't wear these, so it's a 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah, I've told you could have the best sound in the world. If I cannot wear your headphones for more than 20 minutes without feeling so uncomfortable that it distracts me from the sound that the headphones are producing, then I couldn't. And good, I would never recommend. I would never buy a pair of these to anyone.
No.
Even if I disliked them, I'd feel guilty. So yeah, sound is not awful.
I know what you
for
mean.
casual listeners, you'll be fine. For people with my size head, they're just not designed for that. So I couldn't give it anything above a 1.5. And that
I agree. I
0.5
think
is
like
probably for the sound.
as we've said before, I think like these would be fine for kids probably.
Oh
like,
God! Yeah, once I get thinking of my daughter,
absolutely
she'd be fine with that. But
yeah, sound wise.
as an adult wearing headphones,
No.
torture device, like actual torture device. So yeah, I think the effort has been put in the design and the look, which is fine. I think that's important, and it'll capture a kind of kitsch market for sure. But they're not designed for comfort, which is weird. Like you would just assume that a company that made amplifiers and their history is in sound would understand how people listen to sound.
Yeah.
And I just feel they missed the mark with this completely.
Okay, so that's the review of the Marshall Major 4s. I'll put some links below to the product themselves so you can check them out online, check out the spec and stuff like that. Let us know what you think. If you've tried a pair, got a pair, thinking about getting a pair, let us know. Set some comments in below. That is our review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another tech review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye everyone.